What is up, everybody? We are back. Big Five Podcast, episode number 27. And quick note, we're recording this on Monday, February 20th. 7 days from now, it's the very first conference tournaments of the year. Cope, I could not be happier that this is happening. How we doing?
We're feeling great. We're getting down to the home stretch here. I think all these teams have Penn's only got 2 games left.
Penn's got 2 games.
Temple's got 3 games left. I think everyone is at about 3 or 4 games left here. So we're really getting down the home stretch. I guess you can kind of split the season into fours, and you could say the conference tournament's one part and then the NCAA tournament's another. So if that's the case, we're about to enter phase 3 of the college basketball season. And I'm excited. I mean, I'm sure you know me being the March Madness junkie that I am. I'm excited, and even in the meantime, before we get to conference tournaments, there's a ton of great games. Good time to be a college basketball fan for sure.
I think I might cry real tears when I have a blank printed out bracket in front of me ready to go. We're almost there. We're 3 weeks away. Actually, less now. We're less than 3 weeks away now. So here we go. All right, let's talk about some games that happened over the weekend. There was some good, there was some bad. We're going to get into it. We're going to start with the best of the weekend, and that was Penn's 2 games, one against Yale, one against Brown, both at the Palestra, both victories. We'll start with the first one, Friday night. Penn beat Yale 66-64. Very, very tight game. Obviously, Yale was top of the conference going into this one, and Penn was fourth going into this one. So this is maybe a preview of what's to come in the Ivy League tournament. Very good game. Dingle had 18 points on 5 of 15 from the field. He did struggle, honestly, a little bit. They, as we talked about in the last episode, are a very good defensive team, Yale is, and they did a really great job shutting him down until I think it was about 7 minutes left in the game, and they got into the Yale had 7 fouls, so Penn got into the bonus, and Dingle made sure they paid for it, and he went to the line a bunch to close out that one. Someone who had a really, really good game, and I haven't said his name in a while in a positive light, Clark Slackert, 13 points on 5 of 9 from the field. He also had, I think it was 19 against Brown. 13 against Yale and 19 against Brown. And Dingle had 12 on 5 of 9 against Brown. They both had the same shooting. That's why I got a little messed up there. But yes, Clark Slackert, 2 very good games, especially the one against Brown. Great to see him back. Obviously, he's instrumental in their success. And games that Dingle didn't play his best, Slacker stepped up, and the second option that we know and love came to play. So we're very, very happy about that. Max March had a really good game against Brown, 18 and 10 on 8 of 12 from the field. Spinoso had 22 combined points over the 2 games. Overall, I mean, these were 2 really, really great victories. And of course, I didn't mention the final score of the Brown game was 90-69. So that was kind of a blowout. Cope. We saw each other twice this past weekend. We dapped each other up, and we didn't say hi. We said Quakers. That's all you need to know, right?
That's right. That's right. And now you're seeing through their 2 performances this weekend. This is the team that we thought could win the Ivy League and was the preseason favorite. So a wire-to-wire dominant victory over Brown, and then a tight game against Yale. Obviously, we talk a lot about Yale's defense. This is a tight game. It was a low-scoring game, but they got offense when they needed it. Jordan Dingle, like you said, he struggled, but one thing he's damn good at is a runner in the lane, and he hit a runner from almost looked like the free throw line over 3 guys with 12 seconds. He put Penn up 4. Then John Poulikitis comes down, hits a 3 with 5 seconds left. Clark Slack goes 1 or 2 from the free throw line. So even with Dingle's shot, we're still holding our breath at the end, and then it was a wild pass, and it led to a wild Yale shot at the end there that ultimately gave Penn the win. They forced it, and so good to see them grind out a win. Matt Nowling from Yale got hurt. You hate to see it always, but he has a grade 2 ankle sprain, was reported today. He's out indefinitely. This is a team that's 205th in bench points in Yale, and right now at the top of the Ivy League is Penn, Princeton, and Yale, and then that tournament's coming up here. So if he's not ready to go, that's definitely a huge blow to Yale as they prepare for an Ivy League tournament, which I'm sure they would make. I think Penn, Yale, and Princeton are pretty much locked in at this point. That's definitely a big loss for them. It was a big loss in this game for them. But although they struggled offensively, both teams did in the first game. We had a really good weekend from Clark Slacker, like you said. He had 31 points in the first game against Brown, back with 19, 8 of 13 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3-point range, 6 boards, 4 assists. Did have 5 turnovers in this game, but a really good weekend for him, and especially coming down the home stretch here. It's what you need to see. You got to be playing your best basketball right now. Your best players have to be playing their best basketball right now. And that's what we're seeing from Clark Slacker. But this Brown game, I was there on Saturday, and that was the best game I think I've seen them play all year. Dominant victory over a Brown team that right now is fourth in the Ivy League standings. Now there could be some stumbling going on with the last couple games here, but a dominant win for them. Penn did turn the ball over 17 times. The fact that Jordan Dingle only played 18 minutes, only scored 12 points in this game, and still put up 90, pretty damn impressive in my book. So they shot almost 60% from the field, over 40% from three in the Brown game. Max Martz made 8 of his 12 shots at 18 and 10. Guy who we haven't talked a lot about, Max Lorca-Lloyd, off the bench, 7 points, 8 boards, 2 blocks. They got a lot of production from a lot of guys. Even in the first game, George Smith, 3 or 4 from three-point range, 9 points, 10 rebounds against Yale. They got contributions from a lot of different people. And the game Saturday, that was the best game that they played up to this point, which, like I said, is huge. You got to be playing your best basketball right now. This is the team that we thought could win the Ivy League. They struggled through the first half of conference play, albeit most of those games were on the road. They've taken care of business at home the last 2 weeks, going 4-0. How about this? In the Yale-Penn series, the last 10 games, the home team has won. So nice to have some home cooking for Penn. Be back at the Palestra. They look like the team that we thought they could be. They're now in a 3-way tie for first place. And with a win against Dartmouth, if they're not in already, a win against Dartmouth on Saturday definitely puts them in the Ivy League tournament in that top 4. So great weekend from Penn. Great to build off of last weekend's sweep at the Palestra. And now they're starting to look like that team that we thought they could be at the beginning.
Yeah, they are looking scary. And, like we mentioned before, only 2 games left for these Quaker squads. So anything positive gets them in, as you mentioned. And in terms of the scope of the Ivy League, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, we have those top 3, like you mentioned, but between Cornell and Brown, it's going to be very, very interesting to see who gets to the 4th spot and how the seeding shakes out. Because I think, at least for those top 3 teams, I think they're very evenly matched. I think Cornell, definitely has given Penn some problems too. And they just beat up on Brown. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a very, very interesting end of the season for the Ivy League. And I'm glad they did the tournament now. I know in years past they didn't, and they changed that a few years ago to make the Ivy League tournament. It's been great. It's been great. We love to see this. Unfortunately, we don't love to see a couple of results in the Atlantic 10 that we had this weekend. We're going to go over the first one here. George Mason beating LaSalle 70-66. I mean, this is a game that LaSalle had and should have won. And it was one of those things where, like, it just so happened that they didn't come out on top. It was very unfortunate to see. Khalil Brantley, 20 points and 9 of 19 from the field. Jameer Brickus, 15 points and 6 of 14 for the field. So good performances from them. Only 9 turnovers, which is pretty good for this LaSalle team. They only forced 7, but they're not turning the ball over a ton, which is very good. They've been cleaning that up lately. But here's the kicker. And you know that what I'm going to say. 5 of 13 at the line. And they only lost by 4 points. They make at least 2 of those free throws. And they go 7 of 13 from the line, which is still not good. Maybe they win this game. And things are completely different. So that really what did it. They out-rebounded George Mason. They had almost as big of a lead as they did. I think George Mason led by 8 at their biggest, and LaSalle was 6. It was a back and forth game, and that was the killer for them, 5 of 13 from the line. So I don't really know what else I have to say about that. They've been playing great basketball. It would have been very nice to make it 6 straight, and they came out just short in this one.
Yeah, it sucks that their win streak has to come to an end, but I didn't think that they played horribly this game. Something I want to point out. I don't like to talk about the officiating, but I'm just going to throw out some stats here that are. So you mentioned that LaSalle 5 of 13 from the line. Obviously, that's inexcusable for anybody if you're going to win a close game. But they only shot 13 free throws. George Mason took 34. LaSalle had 29 fouls to Mason's 15. All right. I'm just going to move on from that. I don't like talking about the officiating ever. Just wanted to point that out. Those are facts. But LaSalle, like I said, they won on the glass. George Mason shoots under 40% from the field. They shoot 5 of 21 from 3. They just made a bunch of free throws because they got there so often. So whether that's an officiating issue, a foul issue, I'm not really here to speak about that. But they didn't have an answer for Josh Adoro, 25 points, 10 of 16, 7 boards, 3 steals, 2 blocks, really filled up the stat sheet. They didn't really turn the ball over, like you said. Like, this wasn't a game where they played bad and they didn't deserve to win. They just didn't make their free throws. Mason got there a lot. That's pretty good performances. Jameer Brickett's at 15 as well. Deshaun Shepard, who, as we've been talking glowingly about recently, 6 points, but how about he grabbed 13 rebounds? And that's huge when you only win on the glass by 3. It's huge when you can have a guy come off the bench and give you that type of production. But comes down to free throws here, unfortunately. It's George Mason's homecoming. They had to go on a road, probably a pretty hostile environment. I get that, one of the higher attended games that Mason's had. But shame to see the winning streak come to an end, like I said. But still, they pushed the team on the road to the brink. So they got another one coming up, but they're still playing bad. I didn't see this as like a step back or anything or like regression. Obviously, they lost. They won a bunch of games in a row. Can't win them all. Went on the road, almost got a win. Didn't play horribly. Still think there's some good stuff you can take from this, even though I'm not one for moral victories. But I just look at that foul disparity, and that's where it comes into me because it's not like they got burned offensively. They lit up a high percentage of shots. Mason just got to the free throw line, and they were able to knock some of them down because they got there 34 times and pull this one out. So it's not all bad for LaSalle, which you can see him get a win. Fouls on the free throw line as well.
Yeah, I mean they definitely, like I said, they played well enough to win, which is the frustrating thing because then one, you look at the foul disparity, like you mentioned, which I don't want to harp on the refs either. Things do happen, but that big of a disparity is definitely eye-opening. And then the second thing, like I mentioned before, both of us, the free throws. I mean, they went 5 of 13 from the line. You got to knock them down. And I know not every team's going to be on their best from free throw every single game. Villanova set the standard for that in the Big Five, and even they sometimes don't shoot their best, though their best is better than everybody else's best. But 5 of 13 is inexcusable. It's horrible. It's really, really bad. And that was ultimately the difference in the game. So I'm not concerned about LaSalle at all. I mean, I think that they're still playing really great basketball. And this is, like you said, they're on the road. George Mason's not a bad team, but tough to see. Tough one to swallow there. Another tough one to swallow, this one especially. Davidson beating St. Joe's 76-75. This, just like the LaSalle game, back and forth all game. Came down on the wire, and ultimately Joe's came up just short. But they played really, really great basketball. All 5 starters were in double figures, not something you see every day. Cameron Brown, 17 points and 9 rebounds on 7 of 12 from the field. Eric Reynolds had 16 points on 5 of 12 from the field. And just Obina, 15 points, 9 rebounds, 5 of 7 from the field. I feel like we don't talk about him individually enough, except for talking about his size, but he played a really, really great game. Joe shot 50% from the field, 42% from 3. 12 turnovers, which isn't definitely not their worst. They've definitely had far worse games, and they forced 10. So again, losing the turnover battle, but not by much. Again, a game that they definitely could have won. There's been a couple of these in this great stretch for them. They have been on a great run for the last 5 weeks or so. But they're playing a team against Davidson that, like you mentioned in the last episode, they played a lot of close games. They played a lot of teams tough in this conference. And this was another one of those games. And ultimately, this is one of the ones that they found a way to win, and St. Joe's could not. So do you kind of chalk it up as Davidson finally having the luck go their way? Do you chalk it up as, St. Joe's not, they have to learn how to win these kind of games? Because, you talk about this one, the George Washington one, 2 really, really close games that didn't go their way. Or was it something else that I'm missing?
I mean, this was a close game. They just gave up an offensive rebound off a missed 3. Sam Menenga gets the rebound. He gets fouled with a second left in a tie game. So he makes the first free throw. He intentionally misses the second one, so that way Jones can't take it out of bounds and try a full court heave or anything like that. So it's a shame that it has to come down to that because they played him tough. And like I mentioned, I said I was going to take Davidson in a close game the last episode. Their record, I don't think, is reflective of maybe how good they are. They're not getting blown out in most of these games. A lot of them are close. But it was a close back and forth game. They got really good production from Eric Reynolds, Cameron Brown, and Lynn Greer combined for 46 points, 6 of 14 from 3, 17 of 35 from the field, so just a hair under 50%. So they got really good production from those guys, but they didn't have any bench points. I know they're missing Kasper Klasik, and that's huge because, and even though Rasheer Fleming had a really good game, he had the game tying layup 17 seconds with 20 seconds left, 14 points in this game, 2 of 4 from the 3-point line. Played a really good game, but I think they missed Klasik here a little bit. guy that can stretch the floor. You throw another body at Sam Menenga. You allow Fleming to come off the bench and score for you. But they get any production from the bench, like I said. So that was tough, but it was a close game. Sometimes just the way the ball bounced right to Sam Menenga. Had good positioning under the basket. Out, he's a strong guy. You got to. He's just going to lay it in if you're not going to. So like I said, he knocks down the free throw and they lose on that. So it's a tough way to lose because they didn't play bad. Like you said, all 5 of their starters are very productive. They need production from elsewhere. So yeah, it's a tough blow to swallow because I think this is one that Joe's definitely thinks they should have had on the road. But like I said, sometimes that's the way the ball bounces. Tough, but Davidson's been in a lot of these close games, and they finally pull it out and got one to go their way. So there's only a couple games left here. I mean, they still have a winning record in the last 10 or 11, but it sucks that this kind of stuff happens. You know what I mean? It's they force a tough 3 with a couple seconds left. Game looks like it's going to overtime, and then bounces right to Sam Menenga and goes to the line and splits a pair for the win. So it's not all bad. They're going to need production. I know they're very young, coming off the bench, and they don't have Klotchik, but you need some production from the guys outside your starting 5, even when they play really well in a tough.
Yeah, I mean, just like the LaSalle game, they played well enough to win. There are some things that didn't go their way, and it stinks, but they've been playing really great basketball too, and I think they're gonna find a way to win games again. This is not the end of the world. So tough loss, but they will bounce back. Another team that unfortunately lost in this weekend slate of games would be the Villanova Wildcats. They dropped this one to Providence, 85-72. A couple good performers though for the Wildcats. Eric Dixon, 18 points on 6 of 11 from the field. Justin Morris, 17 points on 5 of 13 from the field. Mark Armstrong, haven't called his name in a while. 10 points off the bench, 3 of 7 from the field. I think the kicker here for Villanova was they were 8 of 29 from 3, which is brutal. I'm going to get to that in a second. They also only had 7 turnovers, like you said. This Villanova team does not turn the ball over that much. They did force 11 turnovers, so they did beat Providence in that department. But back to 3-pointers. I think we both know that this team plays a lot better when they're going through Eric Dixon and they're going inside, giving him the rock. And sometimes they get into these stretches where they're really 3 happy and they like to chuck them up. And do you think that they'll ever learn? Is this a Kyle Neptune thing? Is this just they need better shooters for his scheme? What do you think the deal is here?
So I think they just need some more production from their seniors, honestly. Like Brandon Slater, I think only had 3 points in this game. And the thing is, obviously, they're a team that historically, under Jay Wright, they shoot a lot of threes. They also have a bunch of guys that can knock them down. They like to shoot a ton, yet they're 228th at 3-point percentage as a team. Like you said, they get too jump shot reliant sometimes, which is why they go into these scoring funk. But they just get. I think they just got to play through Eric Dixon more. We've been saying that. Like I think that's been a thing. He had a good game this game. Now he also knocked down all 3 of his 3-pointers. They just needed some more scoring out of Brandon Slater, and it just hasn't happened. But he's never been he's always been like a 3-and-D role player. He hasn't really had to be a scorer, and he has to be on this team, and he's the ability to do that. Unfortunately, this year, but this Providence team is really good. The Villanova, like I said, last episode they had to go into a tough environment to the dunk play, and they just lost to a team that's better than them, and there's no shame in that. Ed Croswell, former LaSalle guy, went to St. Joe's Prep from Philly, 21 and 10, had a double this game. Bryce Hopkins, Kentucky transfer, played all 40 minutes, 19 points, 12 boards, 4 steals and 2 blocks. This guy's a monster. I don't know what they were doing at Kentucky that didn't allow him to unlock him like this, but Ed Cooley certainly found a way to do that. Noah Locke, 16 points on 6 of 9 shooting. They're a good team, damn good starting 5. They're probably going to go to the tournament in another game or two. A really good team. And the thing we've also always said about Nova is they've been competitive in these games. They've been competitive against the good teams. They were up 40-39 early in the second half. Then Providence pulled away. They just weren't able to score as easy as they were. 40% from the field, but like you said, the kickers, that 3-point. They like to gun them up there. They're very, very high in America in terms of how many threes they take to how many field goals they take in that ratio. They're just not a team that has knocked them down like they had in years past, and they got to get away from that. But like I said last episode, the episode before, Kyle, it's getting to that point where you just are who you are at this point. It's almost March. I don't think you can flip a switch here. You can completely drastically switch the way you're going to do things. Like you just kind of are what you are at this point. And unfortunately, they're a team that can get jump shot happy, and they just haven't shown the ability to consistently knock them down. So they lost to a team that's better than them in Providence. Providence also shot over 56% from the field here. They didn't turn the ball over a ton, like you said, but they just lost to a team that's better than them. Very, very talented, very good starting five. Great defender in Devin Carter, a fifth year in Jared Bynum, who's from St. Joe's. Really, really good team. They lost another one. They're competitive. They just can't pull these out. And unfortunately, that's been the story all season, and that's probably going to continue to be the story until the end of the season here. We're 8 days away from March. You just are too hard.
Yeah, I mean it's 100% true, and it's been the story for this Villanova team all season. And unfortunately, they have not been able to adjust, and maybe it's not just the coaching and then the way that adjustments. Maybe it's personnel adjustment that they need to make in the offseason. Maybe they need to get in some transfers who are more apt to shooting threes in the highest volume that they do, and or maybe some recruits that shoot threes like that. So I don't know what the answer is right now, but just like you said, they lost to a team that's better than them. They went to the Dunk, and it's not an easy place to play, and they lost. And so do most teams that travel up there. So it's, it is what it is with this Villanova team at this point. Like you said, you are what you are. We're 8 days away from March. I don't really have anything else to say. It's just hopefully they can do something in the Big East tournament, but I have my doubts, and I know you do too. All right, moving on. Final game of the weekend. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this one. Temple beating Tulsa 76-53. Nice bounce back win. I was getting a little nervous early in the second half when Tulsa was keeping it to single digits, but they ended up pulling away. Damian Dunn back in the starting lineup for the first time in a long time and playing very, very well. 24 points on 9 of 13 from the field. Hysier Miller, 11 points and 9 rebounds on 3 of 5 from the field. As a team, they shot 56.6%. And they out-rebounded Tulsa 35-23. I will say Caleb Battle did not play in this game. I don't know why. I don't know if you know why. I was kind of vague the way they announced that. Hopefully he's all good. We wish Caleb the best regardless. But that could be a little bit of a story leading up to conference tournament play, I should say. But overall for this game, I mean, listen, Tulsa, we talked about how they're very much not a good team. And they took care of business, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, the ultimate bounce back spot here. They lost 4 in a row. They get a game at home against the worst team in the conference after this loss. Tulsa's 5-21. Huge rebuild going on here. This isn't a team in Tulsa that's very big. They out rebounded them. They did everything that they should have done against an inferior opponent. Shot well from the field. They shot well from three. They out rebounded them. Damian Dunn a really good game, 9 of 13 from the field. How about the 6 of 6 in the second half? He didn't miss. Did not miss a shot in the second half, which was huge. And that's especially huge when we talk about the absence of Caleb Battle, which this late in the season, the way it sounds, I mean, we hope everything's okay with him if it's something off the court. But if he's just stepping away from the team and is planning on transferring, well, now you have to worry about him not being here. And unfortunately, I don't think this team can make a run at all in the conference tournament and steal a bit if they're going to be without him, and they're going to need guys really late in the season up. And they don't have Shane Zoney off the bench as a reserve guard to even bring up now because he's been hurt. So they're probably going to be dealing with some smaller rotations here. Damian Dunn, second straight game he started, getting started over Jaleel White the bench. The X factor for me is going to have to step up here if they're going to make any noise. In Caleb Battle's absence is going to have to be Hysier Miller. Like you said, he had 11 points, 9 assists in this game. I really don't even mind the aggressiveness we've seen from the last couple of games of him shooting threes. He's going to have to be more aggressive, especially if he's going to be a 4-year player at Temple. He's going to be a key cog for them starting for sure if he's already doing it now. So I want him to be aggressive, look for a shot, and look to score now that you're not going to have Caleb Battle. So he's definitely going to be the X factor for him. Good game scoring, good game facilitating as well. They're going to go into Cincinnati that we'll talk about, but Temple's really going to need Hysier Miller more than anybody if they're going to be without Caleb Battle for the rest.
Yeah, that's one thing he does really well. I mean, obviously on this team, he's not relied on to score because you have Dunn, you have Battle when he's on the court. Hicks could be a good scorer for them. Jamil Reynolds, even Nick Jourdain sometimes. So Hysier Miller kind of falls in that range, but he's a great facilitator. I mean, he's the guy that Aaron McKee trusts with the ball in his hands to move the ball around. Obviously, Damian Dunn too, and Caleb when it comes to scoring. But when it comes to facilitating the offense, I think he really, really trusts Heisler Miller, and I think it's been great to see. And I think he can step into that role very well, but scoring is definitely something that he's going to have to step up a little bit. And I think he can. I think he's improving, and I think we've seen him improve his offensive output throughout this year. So it's going to be exciting to see going forward, not just the rest of this year, but after that as well. But yeah, good bounce back win from Temple. One they most definitely needed. All right, we're gonna go to the upcoming games then for this week. Penn, of course, taking the week off again during the week. I wish I had their schedule, man. This is crazy.
Right.
So we got 4 teams in action. First, we're gonna start off with Villanova traveling to Xavier. This is Tuesday night at 6:30. And just like Providence, this Xavier team is really, really good, and they're going to make the tournament, and they might make a second weekend of the tournament. We'll see what happens. But 22nd in KenPom, 10th in offense, which has definitely been their strong suit. 84th in defense. They're 7th in effective field goal percentage. They're 4th in 3-point percentage. 34th in 2-point percentage. And one thing they do not do well, we mentioned their defense is not as good as their offense. Part of that can be contributed to being 307th in defensive 3-point percentage. So if there's one saving grace for a Nova team that likes to shoot a lot of threes, it's that this Xavier team lets up a lot of threes at a decent percentage. So maybe that can be a remedy for them after their rough shooting performance against Providence. Again, I don't think they should rely on the 3, but you are at this point, recording this on February 20th. We're almost in March. There's only a couple weeks left in the season, which is insane to say. But regardless, despite Xavier being able to let up a good amount of threes, I don't think they win this game. I just, we've talked about them playing well against higher opponents, but not well enough to win all of them. There's been a couple games, but not all of them. And I just don't see it in this one either. I think they're going to get exposed offensively against an Xavier team that's really, really great offensively. Plus, they're playing at home. I see an Xavier victory and a fairly comfortable one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to take Xavier as well. I think this maybe could be closer than people think. A couple injury news and notes here. Zach Fremantle's been out the last 5 games with a foot injury. He should be coming back probably right around the conference tournament. I would imagine he would probably miss the rest of the regular season to be ready for the Big East tournament as well as the NCAA tournament. Xavier will be. Desmond Claude missed a game or 2 with non-COVID illness. He expects to suit up tomorrow. And then Jerome Hunter, who's been starting in the place of Zach Fremantle, he rolled his ankle in their last game against the Paul. He expects to play as well. So a couple injury news there because the last game they played at the Finn, Zach Fremantle had 29 points, 11 rebounds, was the best player in the court. Next to Sule Boom, who had 22 points, 10 boards, and this was flirting with a triple-double. So I don't think they're going to be able to stop Sule Boom. When we previewed this game the first time they played, I mentioned him not only being one of the best players in America the way he was playing, but probably the best transfer in the class. You could certainly make the argument. But this Xavier team, their offense is really, really good. They have shooting, they have scoring. They can have a big inside and Jack Nungy. They're definitely going to miss Fremantle, but Jack Nungy can stretch the floor as well as score inside as well. 3 damn good guards with Kobe Jones, Adam Kunkel, and Sule Boom. And you have to go to the Cintas Center too, which Xavier's only lost once this year, and it was a 2-point loss against number 12 Indiana. I don't see Nova going in there and winning. The problem is they played a lot of these good teams at home. And then they had to go to Marquette. They had to go to Providence. They got to go to Xavier. They have to play a lot of these tough games on the road. Now they had to go to Creighton. I don't think they're going to be able to win here. I think they'll keep it close like they always do, and they'll be competitive and they'll be close in this game, and they won't get blown out, especially with the absence of Zach Fremantle. But I'm going to take X here to win. Last time they played, Cam Whitmore had 26 points on 11 of 18 from the field. They're going to need a big game from him again. They definitely can't have him here. They're going to need him to play a lot better than he did at Providence if they want to have a shot at winning this one. But I'm going to take X here. Cintas Center is a tough place to play. Vaughn Miller's a great basketball coach. What's crazy about the Xavier team is nobody on the team has any NCAA tournament experience. Jack Nungy was at Iowa, and right before he was on the Luka Garza team, backing him up, and right before the tournament, he had a knee injury and had to miss the tournament, unfortunately. So, with that being said, the one guy on the Xavier team that does have tournament experience, well, maybe I think Adam Kunkel was at Belmont the year they had Dylan Windler and had to play behind him, but it's Sean Miller. He's the one guy on the team that's got the most tournament experience for sure. So it's an interesting dynamic because it's not a team of guys who are veterans in the tournament, but they have a coach who's been there a lot and won a lot of games. So with all that being said, I'm still going to take Xavier. When they're fully healthy, they're a dark horse Final Four team. Offense is terrific. They just got to be able to stop people. And if they run into a team that shoots way better than Villanova, they certainly could fall. But in this one, I'm going to take Exeter Center. Really, really tough place to play. They've defended their home court well. I'm going to take them even without Zach Riemann.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be a good game, but I do think Xavier will prevail in the end despite their injuries. All right, moving on. We got a couple home games here in the A10. We're going to start with the best team in the conference traveling to town. VCU is coming to St. Joe's. That is Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. And like we said, this VCU team is the best team in the conference. They're 82nd in KenPom. Their bread and butter is defense. They're 29th in the country in defense. They are 50th in defensive effective field goal percentage. And they're pretty up there in defensive turnover percentage as well. And they are sixth. This is on the offensive side, sixth in free throw attempts per field goal attempts. So definitely one thing they do well on offense that they don't do. They're not the greatest offensive team in the world, but obviously they do enough to win games because they've won a bunch in the A10. This is going to be a tough one. St. Joe's, they've been playing great basketball, though obviously they lost a tough one against Davidson. I think I'm going to lean VCU here. I just think that they're the better team, and I know that St. Joe's plays a lot better at home, and they've been playing great lately, but so is this VCU team. They've been playing really great, and like I said, they are the best team in the conference. They'll likely end up with the number one seed in the conference, and I think right now they're the favorite to represent the A10 in the tournament. So I'm going to go with the Rams here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. It's going to definitely be a lean on VCU for me. However, the spot, VCU's got to go on the road. St. Joe's comes off a pretty heartbreaking loss on the road. The spot maybe is a little scary as far as VCU goes. Best team in the conference for a reason. We all know about the hallmark of this program is their defense. They're fourth in defensive turnover rate, ninth in steal rate. They turn you over a lot, and we've seen St. Joe's have turnover problems before. They're going to press. They're going to pressure the ball a ton, pressure you off the catch, and they're going to be right in your face even as soon as you get the ball. So defensively, I mean offensively for St. Joe's, this is definitely a tough matchup. A lot of good players on this team. So Zeb Jackson and Brandon Johns come from Michigan. Brandon Johns given some size inside. Zeb Jackson just hit a game-winning shot on the road at Rhode Island for VCU to escape an upset up in Kingston. Ace Baldwin obviously is the engine that makes this team go, though. I mean, he can score, he can facilitate. One of the best on-ball defenders as far as point guards go in the entire sport. Mir Watkins, guy from Trenton, is another guard that plays for them. And then, hey, how about Nick Kern Jr. just set a new career high of 17 points. So team clicking. They have a little bit of size down low. They're not huge, but with Brandon Johns and then Jalen Belochin side, they have a little bit of size inside. And then if we've talked about the St. Joe's team having trouble defending the 3-point line, David Schreiber, if you've ever seen him play, he played at Hartford last year. He's got long hair. He's got a mustache. He's a funny guy to look at play, but that guy can shoot the hell out of the ball. And a couple of weeks ago was on a dead-eye shooting streak. So he can hurt you from deep if you're going to leave him open. Although this team doesn't shoot a crazy percentage from three. So they have some guys that can hurt you offensively, but defensively, I think this is where this game is going to be won. The press, the ball pressure, they have court defense. I think this is where VCU takes this game from St. Joe's. Although I think St. Joe's can make it close, and like I said, the spot coming off a bad road loss maybe is good for them. I'm still going to take the Rams here. They're number one for a reason. The league's not great this year. They're only going to have one team in the tournament, but VCU's been the one team that's really heated up and solidified. That I'm going to back the Rams as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game, but I don't see a way that they get past this VCU defense as well as they have been playing. I just don't see it. So I agree. It's going to be the Rams here for me. All right, moving on to Wednesday. Duquesne is coming to town to take on the LaSalle Explorers at Tom Bull Arena. Wednesday at 7 o'clock, that is. And this Duquesne team, listen, we just talked about them. They're a pretty good team. 105th in KenPom. Pretty balanced team, too, actually. 109th in offensive efficiency, 117th in defensive efficiency. They are 30th in offensive rebound percentage. They are 48th in defensive turnover percentage. So they force a lot of turnovers, which might not bode well for this LaSalle team as a team that habitually turns the ball over, though they've been better lately. They are also, Duquesne is 32nd in 3-point percentage. And one thing that they don't do well, free throws. They are 283rd in free throw percentage, which might help this LaSalle team that, as we talked about in their last game, did not shoot very well from free throws, from the free throw line. That's what I was trying to say. But this Duquesne team, as we've seen against St. Joe's, has given them a lot of problems. Duquesne swept St. Joe's this year, and I, as well as LaSalle's been playing, I do think Duquesne is going to win this game. I just think they are a better team, and sometimes, I mean, a lot of times actually, when the better team comes to town, they win the game. I know it's harder when you're traveling to an environment that's not your own, but I just think this Duquesne team's really good, and they are. And we talked about the A10 not being a great conference this year, but they're among the better teams. And I think LaSalle and St. Joseph improved this year, but they're in the middle of the pack. And I think that Duquesne's going to flex their muscles a little bit against LaSalle. I think it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be an insanely um, wide margin of victory for Duquesne, but I am going to take Duquesne in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. They they're 18 or 19-8 for a reason. This team is very good. Really impressive turnaround by Keith Brown. First meeting of the season though between these two teams. Sal won the only meeting last year in Pittsburgh, which was their last regular season game of the year, 85-76. However, that's a completely different team than the Duquesne team that I believe was winless in the Atlantic 10 last year. So, like I said, a huge turnaround. Great job by Keith Dambrot. However, they're only 2-5 on the road in conference play this year. I will throw that out there for haven't been great when they have to away from. But scoring wise, I mean, we saw in the St. Joe's game just how good they can be and just how prolific they can bring the ball amongst a lot of different guys. Day Grant, Tevin Brewer, Jimmy Clark, Trey Williams, a lot of guys that can hurt you on offense here and shoot the ball. They're 32nd in 3-point percentage, 30th in offensive rebound rate. They're going to crash the glass, get second and third opportunities, and that's been really big for them. They brought in some transfers. Day Grant comes in from Miami of Ohio. 25th in bench minutes. This is a pretty deep team, one of the deepest in America for sure. That can help them out, and they can bring guys off the bench and score. So I think this will be a close one, but team that crashes the glass on offense, shoots the ball well. They're deep. Maybe they wear out LaSalle a little bit. I think Duquesne picks up a win here at Tom Gola. Unfortunately, and I think LaSalle slides to another. They go on a 2-game losing streak here, unfortunately. But I think they can keep it close. But this Duquesne team, I think they can win the conference. I do think that they can definitely win the Atlantic 10. The conference that's wide open. But you look at their offensive numbers and the way they can score and how deep they are, trouble for just about anybody. So I'm going to roll with the Dukes as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really, really good team, and more than expecting that after their performance last year. But like you said, this team very well could win a conference that is fairly wide open. I know we talked about VCU just a minute ago being the best team, and they are, but this Duquesne team's not that far behind them. So it's going to be really interesting down the stretch, but I do think the Dukes win this one as well. All right. Excuse me. All right. Last one here. Temple traveling to Cincinnati Wednesday night at 7:00 p.m. And this Cincy team's quietly been a pretty good team this year. I don't think a lot of people were up on them as much as they have in years past, but they're 63rd in KenPom, 68th on offense, and 67th on defense. So very balanced team. 18th in turnover percentage. They're 17th in steal percentage on offense, so they don't get the ball taken from them a lot. One thing that they don't do well, they are 344th in free throw attempts per field goal attempts, which is obviously toward the bottom in the country. And this is an interesting stat I found on them. 35% of their points come on threes, which is 67th in the country. So a lot of their offense comes on threes, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. As we see all with Villanova earlier, they attempt a lot, but they don't make a lot of them. This Cincinnati team's not nearly as bad as Villanova team is from three, but this is going to be a really tough one, especially if Caleb Battle's not playing, which at the time of this recording and releasing, we do not know if he's going to play on Wednesday. I don't really know what's up with Caleb, but even if he does play, actually, if he does play, it would make it a lot closer, and I would maybe lean Temple, but it doesn't look like he's going to at this moment, and for that reason, I think I'm going to pick Cincinnati in this one. They're home cooking. Temple, obviously coming off 4 losses, and then they beat up on Tulsa, which is good. I'm not going to discount that because that's a game they needed to win and needed to see the ball go through the net. But I don't like the way overall Temple's been playing lately, and I think the Cincinnati team's a lot better than people think. So I'm going to go with Cincy here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to roll with the Bearcats as well. It definitely doesn't sound like Caleb Battle's going to play, and that's really what the game hinges on for me. You look at the last time they played at the Liacouras Center, Temple won 71. Out rebounded Cincinnati 46-28. I mean, just dominated them on the glass. They held Cincinnati to only one shot on offense, and the shots they were taking just really weren't great. Just over 38% from the field for the Bearcats. 7 of 18 from three, which is a notches under 40%. Only 8 of 15 from the free throw line. So all around, not a great shooting day for them. But they were taking shots early in the clock, right as they crossed half court. Basically, the first look that they got, whether it was a good one or not, they took. Their shot selection just was not great. Temple did a good job of limiting to one shot, and even with the bad shot selection, not giving them second and third opportunity. Caleb Battle, 14 points, made 3 of his 6 threes off the bench in this game. Jaleel White, best game of the year, I'd say. 14 points, made 6 of his 8 shots, 16 rebounds for him in the starting lineup. Temple made 14 of their 15 free throws. They did have 15 turnovers in this game. On the road, if they do that on the road, they're going to lose. Without Caleb Battle here, this is a Cincinnati team. They don't turn the ball over a ton because they got a fifth-year point guard in David DeJulius, who's been good. He just hit a game-winning floater in the last second for them to win at UCF on Saturday, or it was this past weekend. But the game comes down to Caleb Battle for me. I don't think they're going to be able to go on the road here to Cincinnati. Now there's a team, I believe they're 4th in the AAC right now, 1 spot above Temple. They just lost to East Carolina the other night. You know, they're not world beaters by any stretch, but I still think they're going to beat Temple here. If you don't have Caleb Battle, now it's kind of the situation they had last year. It's like, well, we have Damian Dunn that can go get us one. They're going to need Hysier Miller to step up. Like I mentioned, they don't have Shane Zoney due to injury, so they're probably only going to deal with a 7-man rotation unless they decide to bring Akpomo in here. So a team that doesn't have Caleb Battle, I think this Cincinnati team is also due for a way better shooting night than they had, and I'm sure they'll be taking a lot smarter shots than they did the last time they played. And with that, I'm going to take the Bearcats as well. And unfortunately, after Temple gets their first win in February, I think they're going to follow that up with another loss. I will take the Bearcats in Cincinnati.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, this team, obviously, they had a really good stretch, and then they didn't win in February until the Tulsa game. But the Cincinnati team's just really good, and it's going to be a struggle for them. So I am going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Bearcats. And that's all we got in this one. Do you have any final thoughts here before we sign off?
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to say. Just kind of to end here on a somber note, which you don't mean to do, but just wanted to give our thoughts to Chris Mooney from Richmond, the Philadelphia native, went to Archbishop Ryan High School, coached at Lansdale Catholic right down the street from me and you, Kyle, coached at Beaver College, which you now know is Arcadia University. I believe I gave him that same introduction when we talked not only about Richmond playing at LaSalle last week, but also when Temple played Richmond at the Empire Classic. But he's stepping away from Spiders for the rest of the season due to a procedure that he needs on his heart. So we wish good health for him. Hopefully he can come back on the sidelines next season. But as a Philly guy as well, I thought that'd be good to, say that our thoughts and prayers are with him. We hope everything goes well. I mean, obviously going to step away for the rest of the season, but he hopes to get back out there. I listened to his press conference and some of the quotes, and he hopes that as soon as he can be back out there, he'll be back out there for the players. So hopefully he can be back at the beginning of next season. But, for the time being, get well soon, Chris Mooney. We hope to see you back out there soon.
Yeah, I mean, things like that can be pretty scary, but glad he's, taking time away to get his health right, which is obviously the biggest thing. Basketball, listen, we love basketball. We love talking about these guys competing and the coaches coaching these teams and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it's a game. And mental health matters, physical health matters. So make sure you get yourself right. And so I'm glad he's doing that. So good on him. Yeah, that's I think that's pretty much all I got as well. Obviously, I opened up with the fact that we're so close to tournament play, or conference tournament play at least. So we're right there. We are right there. But like I said, that's all I got. So thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. Make sure you follow us on I'm starting off with the socials this time. I don't usually do that. Follow us on social media at Big Five Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Like and subscribe to our YouTube. And of course, make sure you listen to our audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And of course, we both thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening as always, and your unwavering support. We appreciate it. As always, especially in the stretch run here, as we're winding down the season, which is crazy to say. Time has just absolutely flown by. But yes, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you for the weekend previews.